What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Triple H podcast. Happy Hour Hoop, presented by our sponsor, Win Streak. We love win streaks. We know you guys do too. It's simple if you don't know about win streaks. You pick teams that you think are going to win. You accumulate points based on those picks, and then you win cash prizes weekly. Win streaks is 100% free to play. Sports from NBA, NFL, NHL, college basketball, college football that is now over. Got to wait for next season on that, but 100 players win cash prizes every week, up to $2,000, guys. I'm telling you, it's simple, it's fun, and it's free. The contest runs every week, Monday to Sunday. Again, there is no deposits. And right now, you guys enter our referral code HHH by next week's show, January 17th. You will be entered to win a $50 game time gift card. All you have to do is download the WinStreaks app, use our referral code HHH. Jake's got it pulled up if you're watching on YouTube, the WinStreaks app. Make your picks for tonight. Use our code to sign up, and you'll be entered to win a $50 game time gift card. And then you can go see one of these sporting events in person. But don't forget, guys, download the WinStreaks app and start making picks, points, winning prizes. Now, gentlemen, we're back. The NBA is still cooking. It's in full gear this time of year. We have a lot to get to this show. Some new coaching news, which we don't usually talk about. A new show that's going to be featured about NBA players that I know the three of us are excited about. Got to go over some news and the NBA refs versus everybody. The NBA refs find themselves in the thick of it again. We're going to end the show with that juicy stuff. But how are you gentlemen doing?
I'm doing great, Donnie. I'm doing great. We got a loaded slate of games tonight too. I know you're locked in on one specifically, but there's a lot of good games on tonight, including everyone's maybe a preview for the NBA Finals. Of course, I'm talking Spurs Pistons. Is on tonight. You know I'll be locked in for that. But no, we got a bunch of good games that night. T-Wolves Celtics being the big one. Didn't really think they'd be the two best teams, but here we are. So I'm ready to just be locked in on some basketball today. And like I said, I said last week, college football coming to the end. The NFL playoffs are starting. We're officially in basketball season. I'm locked in on college basketball too. And now the NBA is really starting to get going. And what perfect timing, once we finally get in the basketball season to drop the news of an NBA players show. This is the Players League. We get a players show, man. I can't wait. I can't wait for that.
Oh, yeah. It's a great week of hoops coming up. I can't wait to get this show underway. Let's get to it.
Let's do it, guys. Let's start the news and notes like we always do. Right off the bat, I mean, this sucks. We texted about it on the side when both of these happened. Obviously, Ja Morant's much worse, out for season. I believe he tore his labrum. It just sucks, man. Like last week we had the Grizzlies in that fringe kind of group of teams. Are they a pretender? Are they a contender? And I think we went back and forth with the Grizzlies. They're a tougher one just because of how bad they started. But I mean, a guy like Ja Morant, you have him on your team. You have a decent roster around him. You kind of always have a fighting chance. And just a week ago we were talking about them in that light, and now here Ja Morant is out for the remainder of the season after all the bullshit he went through off the court. To make it back, was playing well. It's just all you can say about this is it really sucks, man. Hopefully a speedy recovery for Ja. It's tough. I mean, they're still pulled out a good one last night without him, but it's tough to see. It's tough to see good things for the Grizzlies moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the most exciting players in the NBA to watch when he's on the court. So it's tough, and the Grizzlies are in that weird spot too, right? Where you're not really going to blow it up because I still like this team. But it's almost like, what, do you just ride this season out at this point, right? This entire season was kind of banking on Ja coming back after 25 games. And I know the Grizzlies didn't expect to start as poorly as they did. But even with how poorly they started, we kind of saw maybe this team can kind of figure it out when Ja gets back. And the biggest concern I had with Jazz, like, is he going to be focused on basketball? And it felt like he was for the, first couple of weeks he came back. It felt like he was. And now you have something where it's a season-ending injury, obviously out of his control, but he's missing more basketball. And it's just obviously completely different circumstances where you have Ja, getting himself in trouble beforehand. But now this injury, it's like basketball's missing Ja Morant again. And this is a guy who, when he's on the court, it's just better for the entire league. And so to not have Ja again or get robbed of Ja again it's just so sad. Like we talked about it last week, we didn't really know if the Grizzlies were going to make that run, but it did not matter. When Ja's healthy, the Grizzlies are appointment television. And it's to, be robbed of that for honestly feels like 2.5 years now.
Yeah, I mean, you said it perfectly there, Steve. It's a terrible loss for the league, terrible loss for the Grizzlies, especially to see how he was playing when he first came back. He was right back to it. Like, that first game back was one of the most electric games I've watched all year long. Yeah. So it's a shame. It's a real shame that he's out and injured. Hopefully recovers well and recovers fine. But yeah, for the Grizzlies too, it's a tough season, a lost season, especially when you look at the Western Conference and just like where they kind of would have been if Ja was healthy and available all season. They probably would have been one of the top 3 or 4 teams in this conference, the way it's kind of shaking out right now. So lost year for them, lost year for him. Hopefully he gets back healthy, and next year the Grizzlies are back on our TV screens, contending in the Western Conference, and Ja's on a revenge tour, just dunking all over everybody again. That's all we can hope for.
Yeah, it just sucks. Like we keep saying, we want to see Ja out there. I don't know too much about returning from the specific injury that he has, but I mean, at the very least, it's not like a lower leg injury where the rehab could take however long, and he'll at least have his legs underneath him when he gets back eventually. Quick question just came into me now when you guys were talking about it amongst yourselves. Marcus Smart, do you think there's any chance the Grizzlies try to move a guy like Marcus Smart at the deadline? Just because I feel like, they didn't go all in this offseason, but I think they kind of thought, how well they competed without Ja last year, and then how good they looked when Ja returned.
Right.
And they go out and get another guard who ultimately would complement Ja, and now they find themselves in definitely a losing situation, a losing season. And they brought Smart in. He's only getting older at this point. Obviously, I still think he has a lot left in the tank. But do you guys think they entertain that at all, or you think Marcus stays put?
I think the Grizzlies just kind of stay put because I really don't. They're in that weird spot, right, where if Ja's healthy, this is a contending team, and when Ja's not healthy, we saw previous years they were doing all right, and then this year they start off really, really poorly. I don't really think it's a spot where they want to make any moves because I don't think they're going to be a team that's going to really try to fight for the playoffs, and I also don't think they're a team that's going to blow it up or want to trade players like that because Josh should be back next year, and they still have a really good core with this team. And so I would just kind of stay put where you are, consider this kind of maybe a lost season, see what you got out of some of your younger guys, maybe just kind of see what you got out of these guys. Smart's been playing kind of well lately too. Yep. So if you could get a good deal for him that helps you for the future, sure. But in my mind, I think this is just like, all right, like just unlucky. Like our star player, Hart's oldest team got hurt. Unlucky. We still got a lot of good, talented players on this team. We're just going to kind of play basketball this year and see where it goes. I don't think you hit the panic button, and I don't think you go like, oh, we got to really like do what we can to start winning games. Just throw your lineup out there, and what happens this year, and kind of focus on next year.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. It seems like other guys, even, I don't know if you guys caught it, but Smart hit like a ridiculous 3 with a dislocated finger last night, and like didn't even notice until he was running away celebrating and like had his hands up and showing the 3, and one of his fingers is just sideways.
Yeah.
And Desmond Bain and him kind of had a moment at the end of the game. And that was kind of like the first time I was like, oh, damn, maybe Memphis loves Smart, like how Boston did, and the guys are buying in. So I don't know. I didn't really necessarily believe that, but I just, they are in a weird position more than anything where they just no one expected to lose Job. If anything, they were waiting patiently for him to come back after the suspension, and then this kind of blows up in their face. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't know if they make any moves. These next two guys, I can group them together. It's a little better news, not good news, but better. Haliburton will be reevaluated in a couple of weeks with a strained hamstring. He did this the other night against my Boston Celtics. He fell in like a weird split position.
So weird, man.
It was just like awkward more than anything, and even like the way he had to get carried out.
I thought it was season-ending the way he got carried out.
Yeah,
he looked like it was like he's out long term. The way it goes. So I guess it's good news, right? That it's only should be a couple of weeks. We'll see if it extends. But man, dude, the way that injury happened, Donnie, I thought it was season over for the Pacers too. And I was like, there's no way you're taking Haliburton and Morant from me. At the same time, two of my favorite players to watch, man. But the good news is should only be a couple weeks. Pacers just gotta, no pun intended, keep pace. Just don't blow up like you have without Haliburton. They're playing the 6-30 Wizards tonight. Just beat the Wizards. You can beat the Wizards without Haliburton. Just win the games that you should. You'll be all right. But tough, man. You guys know how I feel about Haliburton. I mean, I think he's the best playmaker in the NBA. So that was a tough sight to see.
Yeah, brutal. I was just like you guys. I was nervous about that injury. It looked really bad early on, but glad to hear reevaluate in a couple weeks. Hopefully he's back in a couple weeks and back on his all NBA level pace that he's been.
Yeah, we want to see Tyrese back out there, and shout out the Pacers got the job done that night too. Like they came back even after Haliburton went out and they beat the Celtics. We'll talk about that game a little more at the end. Nothing to do really with the Pacers, but a third party in that game. And Cade Cunningham, we mentioned it. I'm kind of grouping him in with Haliburton. He has a bit of a knee issue. I just think it's knee soreness is what they're calling it, but he'll be reevaluated in a week. So I think, judging by the reports, I would assume Haliburton's out a little longer, it sounds like.
Yeah, I would think so.
And Cade, maybe he could return in a week when he gets looked at.
Don't rush him back. Don't rush him back.
There's no reason to, I guess, right?
No reason to rush him back. I mean, just make sure he's 100% before you bring him back. Last thing you want, right?
Unless they're trying to accomplish exactly what we were talking about last week, which they still haven't won a game. So a week's time has passed.
Yeah, not good.
They were 3-30 when we recorded last week. They're 3-34 as it stands right now. So they dropped 4 straight since the last time we recorded.
They're playing closer though. They're playing a little closer now.
Yeah, Steve's probably got the right idea though. How about we don't rush Cade back and let him get healthy if this is what the Pistons are going to look like. Embiid, kind of similar. I think he just has the knee soreness going on. A little concerning though if you're Philly, right? He dropped the games around the holidays, came back, wasn't practicing. Now he's out for tonight's game against Atlanta, I believe. And we're getting close, right? We're getting close to that mark. We talked about it last show. Yeah, I think there's 9 more games he's able to miss. Obviously, if he's actually injured, he's going to miss more than that, if need be. But this, everyone's talking about Embiid is right up there in the MVP conversation again. He's right up there in All NBA, which he'll almost definitely secure that if he is able to beat this threshold with the 65 games that you have to play. But it just sucks for Philly fans and Embiid fans alike that this new rule is implemented, and he's been consistently banged up for the start of the season. So, Philly, just from a winning standpoint, doesn't want to see this. And then also, Pat Bev is talking about how this is one of the single greatest seasons ever if he can finish with these numbers, and it's just sucks.
I mean, if I'm Philly, man, I think you got to look at the postseason. You don't want to play this guy too much. If he needs to sit out 9 more games and not win an MVP and focus on the playoffs, and that MVP happens to go to a point guard on the Mavs, that should be okay by Philly fans. Embiid got his MVP. Focus on the postseason. I think this team has the best chance to make a run than previous Philly teams. So focus on the postseason. Let Luka get his MVP, and let Embiid make sure he's 100% before the playoffs.
Something hilarious that I forgot to text you guys last night. I've turned on for about like a little bit of the first half. I was watching Grizzlies Mavs last night. My girlfriend was over, and she does not watch any basketball. Takes one look at Luka and was like, "I don't like that guy." I was like, "Why?" I was like, "Why don't you like him?" She's like, "He looks sloppy." Like, you're right. He does look. He does look a little. That's kind of his look. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. I'm like, he's one of the best players in basketball. She's like, "There's no way." So that's what Luka does to people. Luka just unassumingly is one of the best players in basketball. She's a litmus test for a lot of my.
But even when you watch some of the games too, right? You have a casual fan watch, like he shouldn't be doing what he's doing.
No, exactly.
That's the thing. He makes it look so easy, and it's like he's walking. Why can't they stop him? I don't know.
Right. He's herky jerky in slow motion. Oh yeah, he's gonna hit that. Yeah, he's gonna make that layup. Yeah, it's crazy what he's doing right now. So I think if Embiid is out and misses on these awards, it's got to be Luka as the MVP. Unless you're talking SGA
right now.
Yeah, and you guys brought me up more on the SGA. It probably, I don't see him getting it over Luka though. Because they like to give it to guys who are. Well, the seeds are close. Yeah.
If they're anywhere close, it's got to be Luka.
And they would rather give it to the guy who's been in the conversation the last couple of years rather than the newcomer to it too. And Luka has definitely been in that conversation and just hasn't had like the team success like you're saying. Right. So if they're in the 4 or 5 seed or something like that, you got to give it to them.
I don't know if you guys saw, but like the last 10 games, Luka's first half stats, he's averaging like 24, 6, and 5. Like stupid numbers in the first half. It's just all right, can't just play him.
MVP numbers in like 2012, bro.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Like it's actually absurd what he's been doing in like the first half. You guys know I've been sending you like box scores. I feel like every time, like when I'm watching a Mavs game, I'm like, I think it was the one. I was like, I got to show you guys this box score. It was like 2 minutes into the third quarter. Luka had 32 already. Kyrie had 24, and the next highest Mavs score was 6. And it's one of those things. Just get him some help. Help the team success. But because honestly, like I'll be honest, I want Luka to win this thing. But if Embiid plays the number of games he needs to win the MVP, it's his to lose right now, man. It's his to lose. He's been the most dominant player in basketball this year, and you really can't argue anyone else. As much as I'd love to argue a few other names, you really can't. I watched enough of the Philly games with Embiid and. As much as we don't like James Harden on this pod to talk about how this Philly team looks better after you lose a guy like that because of Embiid, and just look again, not just the difference of the Philly team when Embiid doesn't play, but the difference of the 76ers of how Tyrese Maxey plays without Embiid. It looks like he's not even a star. Yeah. Like he looks lost. Like Embiid just helps so many guys around him, and that's big for me in an MVP too. And, obviously I think he's been the most dominant big in the paint since Shaq. I mean, nobody can stop Embiid in the paint this year. I mean, you can't even try. And he's improved his playmaking substantially this year too, right? He saw Jokic win a couple MVPs because he knew how to pass. He's like, I could try that too, and it works.
Yeah, I don't think before this season we saw Joel, doing one-hand passes from the perimeter, and you kind of see it on a regular basis now, and it's something, man. I mean, when these guys, how good they are at what they do, put their mind to something or try to open up a new part of their game, it's seamless to some of these guys at the top of the league. And Embiid is definitely one of those guys. And it's crazy we were talking about, SGA, Luka, Embiid, Jokic is the next name. Giannis is probably the next name after that. These are all international guys. This is all international guys who are, it's probably going to be one of those guys who win the MVP. And
if we did USA versus international, we get dusted right now.
Yeah,
USA would get dusted. I didn't think I'd ever say that about the NBA, but it's true. I mean, who goes up against that 5? For the US, who's going up against that 5?
It's not great.
And our 5 that we do put up does not have the youth on their side. I mean, probably our only young guy that we'd put on that team would be Tatum, right? The
Yeah.
rest would be like KD, LeBron, Steph, Kawhi.
Anthony Edwards, right? You'd probably put him
Edwards.
in.
Yeah.
Davis would be doing a lot of heavy lifting in that game. A lot of defense from Anthony.
But it'd
Davis.
just be hoping that like LeBron, Curry, and Durant play like they do in their prime.
Yeah,
like 80 minutes. Please. But so that all that being said, league's in great hands. Speaking of hands and throwing them, Draymond Green is returning to practice. He's back at practice this week. The return for him is TBD, I guess. I don't think they've targeted a date, but I mean,
Dunny, you know when it is. As soon as we end this podcast, that's when the return's going to be announced.
Yep.
We talked about this before. We know when the return is. Just it's probably going to be in about 40 minutes.
Yep.
Woj
is going to show up on NBA Countdown and be like, Draymond Green will return to action tonight against the New Orleans Pelicans.
Yep.
We kind of break news every show. It just gets broken.
Kind of. Yeah.
Directly after we record.
You know what? Let's just start taking chances at this point. Let's just put stuff out there because it's going to be announced after the pod anyways. And then we're like, we had it 30 minutes before Woj. What are you talking about?
I'm actually gonna look at the Warriors schedule right now and see if I can pick. There's got to be something coming up where it's too perfect for them not to do it. Let's see.
Home game on national television. Sign Draymond up for that.
Oh, it's going to either be Saturday, January 13th against the Bucks, or the 5th, or Monday the 15th against the Grizzlies. Those are my two guys.
It's probably Saturday.
Yep.
Bucks Warriors.
Yeah. So let's.
He's not missing that game.
Just for the clip, this isn't real. Disclaimer. This isn't facts. But now that I said that, this just in on Happy Hour Hoops, Draymond Green will be returning Saturday, January 13th against the Milwaukee Bucks.
There you go. You heard it here first.
Heard it here. Love it.
Just
Take
to get ahead.
Woj. Take that, Woj.
One piece of news I didn't put in here for you guys, but I saw it right before we hopped on, is there's no timetable, so I didn't feel necessary to put it on, but Ben Simmons in front of the media earlier today said he's coming back soon. So soon for Ben Simmons in the past has mentioned a lot of things, but obviously Brooklyn would like to see that. And
I was going to say, kind of crazy that we're saying like Brooklyn would really like that. Would really like to have Ben Simmons back right now.
He looked good in his short stint at the beginning of the season. So
and he helped them substantially with defense and depth as well, and that's something they've really been lacking last month or so.
For sure. So we'll see. Stay tuned in with us on all those injuries, and we hope these guys who can be back will be back soon. The biggest news in coaching in the NBA in a while: Eric Spoelstra, new contract, 8 years, $120 million. We were talking about last week. I think Eric Spoelstra is the best coach in the NBA.
Well deserved.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is extremely well deserved. Did you guys see what the Miami Heat did for him while this was in the works? Eric Spoelstra just finalized his divorce with his now ex-wife, and they waited to sign this contract until all the divorce stuff was done. So
wow. Miami's taking care of Spoelstra,
huh? So they were probably ready to do this. Probably agreed to like 7 months ago, and he's like, "Guys, can we?" That's
Heat culture right there.
That is Heat culture. I mean, and this the thing we say, right? Like we joke about it though, but like with Heat culture, the Heat are the same type of team every single year. I think there are a few coaches in the NBA that are really, truly very impactful. I think a lot of other, you just kind of rotate them in every couple of years. Yeah. Spoelstra is one that is truly impactful. It feels like every single player, like you get the best out of them in Miami. And it's, one of these guys where you look at the roster, even when they have injuries, like other guys just step up. And I think coaching is a big part of that. Well-deserved. I think he's the best coach in the NBA right now. Probably, second best after Popovich, if we're talking about, all the current coaches and what they've done. But right now, I mean, who in the NBA would you rather have coaching your team than Eric Spoelstra?
No one.
Right.
Yeah. Spoelstra is awesome in that regard too, just because I feel like, there's so many coaches who are good coaches because they know how to address the players. They have a good demeanor, or they speak good in front of the media. He has all that, and then if the Heat needed after timeout play, like you can count on Spoelstra to draw it up. If they need to adjust and change their defense 3 times during a game, like it seems like that's seamless, and he has the guys doing it, and he knows what sets to put them in. He knows which guy, whether it's Hero, Bam, or Butler, to play through against certain matchups. And I feel like, a good coach in the league today has like 1 or 2 of those things. And Spoelstra just kind of has the whole package in that regard. And yeah, I mean, nothing else you can say other than he's deserving of this. I saw a note that, this might mean even more money for Steve Kerr when he's due for his extension.
Crazy.
Yeah, and I was curious because, like, Steve, I feel like the way you said it, like Steve Kerr came to mind when you said, other coaches. I thought you were going to go this way, but you said they can either, kind of be like swapped in every 2 years, or they have a guy like Steph Curry on your team. It's like, do I think Steve Kerr is a good coach? Like at some point I have to say, yes, he's a good coach because, all of the success isn't 100% because of Steph Curry, but just think about
also the
teams.
Players like him too. The players want to play for him, which I think is important in the NBA. You need to have those guys want to play for you.
So, like, do I think Kerr is deserving of big money as far as NBA coaches go? Yeah. Do I think he deserves more than the contract Eric Spoelstra just got? No way, man.
Nope. And I agree with you.
I just thought that was crazy that, like, immediately Spoelstra gets paid and we just, again, go back to talking about Steve Kerr. And it's just like, think about the teams in recent years that Spoelstra has brought to the NBA Finals and the teams that he's taken down in the Eastern Conference, and compare that, obviously he's not on the same level as far as rings go to Steve Kerr. He has half the rings that Steve Kerr has, but I don't know. I thought that was just a crazy way for the NBA media to throw Steve Kerr's name into the conversation again.
No, I agree with you, Donnie. I mean, it's one of those things, right, where it's like you can't really punish the coach for having a generational player or something like that. But at the same time, too, you have to take that into consideration a little bit. Like this, like his championships, look what they want. They had Kevin Durant for 2 of them. He had Steph Curry and Kevin Durant, who, when they retire, are probably both going to be top 10 players of all time.
Yeah.
Like these Miami Heat teams, these recent Miami Heat teams. I love Jimmy Butler. I love Bam Adebayo. They're never going to be top 10 players of all time. And if you look at how, these teams were constructed or what happened, with the Warriors, it was like, plus you had Klay Thompson too, who I know he's struggling lately, but he's one of the greatest shooters of all time too. But you look at these Warriors teams and you're like, how are they successful? It's because of these superstar players. At the end, when it's all said and done, there's going to be like 4 or 5 Hall of Famers from Steve Kerr's Warriors, his core teams. Mm-hmm. With like Spoelstra, you look at like these Miami Heat teams, it's just these guys step up every single time. He just gets the best out of his players. And the Warriors do to a point too. I'm not saying they don't. There's a lot of players who've gone to the Warriors and made impacts, whether it's off the bench or, towards the end of the career or just young guys. But with that being said, I don't think there's anyone right now who gets the most out of his players than Eric Spoelstra. And I think he's proven that year in, year out.
Yeah, man. Can't say enough about Spo. He definitely deserving of the money. Love that the Heat helped him out through his time of divorce as well. Kind of cool move having your coaches back like that.
Yeah. That's a Heat culture thing, like you said.
Yeah.
That is the most Heat culture thing. They're like, we love Spo. We're gonna, do them as good as we can. And there you go.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. And maybe this will only motivate the Zombie Heat even more, probably. So I'm sure we'll just see them continue to climb the standings as the season goes on here.
Oh yeah.
Other news today that just came out. If you guys have seen the Netflix show Quarterback, the NBA is making their own version of this. No name yet, but NBA documentary series starring the likes of Jimmy Butler, LeBron James, Domantas Sabonis, Anthony Edwards, and Jason Tatum. I mean, we texted about this earlier, but I am absolutely amped for this.
Yeah.
I only watched a few episodes of the quarterback
I was
series,
going to
but
say the same thing. I didn't
I
care
thought it was
about it.
yeah, I thought it was cool, but like I felt like I kind of knew like quarterbacks, about them more than any other athlete in every other sport. I feel like they're the shine, they're the
Yes.
one that everyone talks about when the game's on. And of course you could say that about LeBron James, but all the other guys on this list, like, and LeBron, they're doing it for the draw. I'm sure there's a bunch of cool shit that we can still learn about LeBron James too, but all these other guys, I know already that Jimmy Butler has an interesting story, but I don't really know about it. Sabonis has a super interesting story, I'm
Mhm.
sure, and then Ant and Tatum, rising superstars who doesn't want to learn about these two guys who, in theory, will be at least part of the face of the league moving forward. So I'm amped about this show. I'm sure you guys are as well.
Yeah, and I think we see the 5 names, right? The NBA, I say it all the time, it's a players' league. We see these 5 names, and it's like you got 5 stars. You got 5 superstars right here that are willing to do this. And I love that because I feel like sometimes in other leagues you would have to, pull teeth to get guys to do this. First off, we know nobody would want to do this more than LeBron James. Like this is right up his alley right here. LeBron is so excited for this. But the other names too, I think it's awesome. Like Domantas Sabonis, I was very excited to see his name on the list because this is a guy that I've been saying for years is a player that a lot of people sleep on because they don't really watch him. He was in Indiana when they were kind of irrelevant. Then he went to the Kings, who play late at night. And if you're not watching the NBA every night like we are, you really don't kind of see what he does. But he's been putting up ridiculous numbers. He's been a big part of the Kings' turnaround the past couple of years. So I'm interested to see that. Also, too, he's a foreign player, which I think that'll be kind of a cool angle to go on with this show. I told you I wasn't too interested in the quarterback thing because I didn't really care too much. They didn't seem too interesting to me. But man, the NBA players, I mean, like I said, it's a players league. I can't wait to kind of see this. The only thing is, I think we'll probably get multiple of these down the road, multiple players. We'll just never see Nikola Jokic, unfortunately. As much as I want to. I know, as much as I'd want to. I think that might be the only NBA player we'll just never see. But I'm excited, man.
That's hilarious. Yeah, Jokic is never, ever doing one of these. That's for sure. That's so funny. No, this is going to be great. And like you guys said about the quarterback show, like it was Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, and Marcus Mariota. Like
exactly.
This is a different level with the 5 that they selected here. You got, as the guys all you mentioned there, like LeBron being in it. Not surprising at all, but still, whatever kind of behind the scenes look we're going to get into LeBron James's everyday life will be extremely interesting. Yeah.
Yes.
And then everybody else too. Like this is a great idea for the NBA to kind of jump on and get us closer to these players and kind of just see like more in the day in the life. Because we know NBA players have a lot of downtime, like generally during the, like on off days and everything else. So to kind of see like how crazy or laid back their lives are whatever they choose to be is going to be really interesting. And I think it's just the NBA is the best at this, at connecting you to an individual and making you feel like them and like you're connected to that player and their journey and their story and everything else. It's the reason that we love this sport so much. We all have we talk about our favorite players on here all the time. And so it's going to be a great opportunity. The fact that my favorite player of all time, LeBron James, Jason Tatum being on there for Dunny. We got Sabonis on there for Steve. If only Luka was on this show for you. We have the trifecta. But Sabonis,
I gotta wait. I gotta wait for Luka.
It'll become. I'm most interested in seeing Jimmy Butler though. Jimmy Butler,
I think so,
bro. Because he's
Anthony Edwards.
Well, Ant could be doing some crazy stuff too. But Jimmy Butler, like big face coffee. Maybe we get some Shakira on the show. Like who knows what Jimmy Butler's gonna be up to in South Beach? But it's gonna be a good time no matter what.
Yeah, man. I'm excited. Like Steve said, I'm excited for Ant too. Like him kind of like being a movie star in that Adam Sandler movie before he even really came into his game, and now he is that superstar that he's portraying in the movie. I think if they go into that a little bit, I think that'll be a cool angle. And yeah, like Jake nailed it. Obviously, I'm super excited for the Tatum episode. Yeah, watching that should be a blast. and I'm definitely keeping my eye out for it. I'm gonna be checking Netflix. I'm sure it's gonna be in the coming soon category, and I can get a date on that soon, hopefully. But yeah, that should be awesome. Something to watch. And now for the last segment, guys, NBA refs versus everybody. They have been in the news, I'm sure, much more than they would like, much more than Adam Silver would like them to be in the news lately. It started, what was that? That was last week, right? The LeBron James 3 that his foot was, or
Dude,
maybe 2 weeks
it
ago
feels
now.
like it was so long ago at this point, but you're probably right,
Yeah.
Tony. It just
I think it was
it's one
last
of,
week or the week before.
it's just one of those things where I'm like, it felt like it was so long ago, but it's like, no, it wasn't. It just happened because there's something happening every single night. It feels like with these.
Yep. Right, and that's why they're in the news, and not for a good reason. We had the LeBron James 3 that got missed like last week, a week and a half ago. Jaylen Brown the other night, super controversial call that ended up costing the Celtics the game. He got hit on the head and then blocked. I believe it was Buddy Hield that blocked him and hit him on the head. Called a foul on the floor. Jaylen Brown's going to have 2 free throws. They come out of it, claiming that he did hit him in the head, but it wasn't a foul. They took it back. And it's funny because LeBron took to Twitter and to defend Jaylen Brown, like other people who weren't even involved in this game. Buddy Hield went up to Joe Mazzulla and while it was being reviewed and admitted that he hit Jaylen on the back of the head. And the refs still seemingly, got it wrong, whatever. If the 2-minute report that the refs put out last night was all over the place, super contradicting from what they said in the game. And even just there was conflicting evidence in the report in itself. So just not a good look. And then last night we had the Toronto Raptors versus the Los Angeles Lakers. And the coach of the Raptors, Darko Rajak, I'm going to screw up his last name, but
Rajakovic.
Rajkovic?
I think so.
Rajakovic, I think.
Yeah, or
Rajakovic.
Yeah. That was a good effort, though, Dunny. That was a good effort.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
That was, we'll just call him Darko. That was one of the more crazy tempers I've seen in a post-game presser as far as just speaking passionately about the sport that you're playing, and he went off. So much so, saying some crazy things like, we all love Scotty Barnes, but he was calling Scotty Barnes like the future face of the league, and he was using all these exclamatories towards the NBA refs. It looked like his eyes were going to pop out of his head, but the whole issue is that the Lakers in the fourth quarter had 23 free throws attempted, and the Raptors only had 1. Or 2. Sorry,
2, yeah.
They only hit 1, and it was a super close game. But yeah, I mean, just any 3 of these situations where we can leave the LeBron one in the past. I just felt like it was recent, but like, what do you guys think of the NBA refs? I mean, this is, we're not a stranger to this, but it seems like it's happening a lot more lately.
I think there's a couple of reasons why it's happening. And I think the first one, and I know people are not going to want to hear this, but I think it's partly the players' fault because we have superstars. And I'm not talking just, the stars in the sea. I'm talking superstars, faces of the league, complaining every single time they don't get a call when they think they're hit. To the point now where you're going to have some refs that it feels like, oh, there's pressure on them. So anytime it's close, and if you watch these games too, guys, there's a lot of late whistles, right? There's a lot of late whistles where it's almost like if, like, let's say in the Raptors-Lakers game last night, for example, there were a few times Anthony Davis went up for a layup or went up, contested shot. And if that went in, no whistle. But as soon as that ball kind of bounced off the top of the rim, that's when you heard the whistle. And it's like, I feel like sometimes there's so much pressure put on these refs because of these superstars constantly in the air, constantly complaining. It's like, I got to call it for them. And then when you don't call it for the other team, it just makes it so blatant, so obvious that, you're kind of favoring the star players. And I get it. There's always going to be favoritism to star players in every single league. You see this in baseball with balls and strikes calls on the best hitters in baseball. You see this in football with the superstar quarterbacks and what type of contact can be had with them, or the superstar wide receivers. Like, I'm not saying it doesn't happen in every sport, but I think it's an extreme in basketball because of how vocal these superstar players are allowed to be when they complain about calls. And we look at this, what happens when a ref goes the complete opposite direction and goes, I'm going to be stubborn. I'm not going to call anything on you, or I'm going to toss you. We saw the reaction when Jokic got tossed for just barking at the ref. We've seen the reaction where a NBA superstar will go up and, think they get fouled and then complain it's an automatic technical foul. And that reaction's almost worse than the reaction of just calling the fouls. So my biggest thing here is I just want to see more consistency, right? I understand that superstars are going to get more of a benefit of a doubt, but I'm tired of watching a game, and this is by someone who had Anthony Davis points prop last night, which smashed, all right? I loved that he got so many free throws at the end of the game, but I'm tired of, if you think it's a foul, call it right away. I think that's part of the reason why Darko got so upset. Is was like Anthony Davis or LeBron would go up, they'd wait, the ball would hit the rim, it looks like it's not going in, here comes the foul call.
Yep.
And it's just and they were not, and then they're not calling on the other side, but you're calling fouls on Emmanuel Quickly, where he fouled out of the game, which probably could have impacted the game because he's been fantastic since he's been on the Raptors. But it's like you're calling these ticky-tack fouls on him, but then, Scotty Barnes goes up there, looks like he gets mauled, and there's no whistle. And it's just like, you got to have more consistency here. I'm tired of the late whistles. I think that's one of the big fixes, is if you got to tell the refs, you're either going to call it right away, or you're not going to call it. They're not perfect. They're going to miss calls. But the late whistles and the, discrepancy in free throws when a superstar is playing on one team versus a team that has a bunch of other guys that aren't truly superstars. And I'm not saying Scotty Barnes, Pascal Siakam aren't like stars. I'm just saying they're not going to get those types of calls that a guy like LeBron gets, Kevin Durant gets, Jokic, Luka, Embiid,
and not in LA, that's for sure.
Exactly. And especially on the road. But my biggest thing is I just want to see more consistency, and I'm tired of the late whistles, because I think that's where the big issue is. And I think that's where the coaches and the players get pissed off, because you'll have a shot missed, Anthony Davis' hands goes up in the air like, I got fouled, and then here comes the whistle. It's like, no, don't blow the whistle because the star says they got hit. Blow the whistle for what you see in the game. And if you make a mistake, then so be it. But don't try to overcorrect yourself, because that's where the real issue lies.
Yeah, it's kind of like with the replay too. Like what happened, it's different. It's a little different than what you're talking about, but like they spend so much time looking at the Jalen getting blocked and hit on the back of the other night, which they call the foul on the floor, and you can clearly see he gets hit, but then they spend like nearly 5 minutes looking at it just to say, oh no, we were wrong. It's like, I don't know. I think a little consistency from the referees, and I'm with you, Steve. I think the players are partially to blame. Just how much complaining they can do. The arm flailing, all that stuff.
How much they can get away with too.
And it's so much worse in the NBA, like from the most basic point of the fact that these calls result directly into points. Like they literally directly send people to the line and give them free opportunities at points. When you're talking about in football, like, yeah, you can call a pass interference or not call a pass interference that you thought should have been called, but that doesn't mean it's going to, like, you don't know what could have happened on that play, or like a hit to a quarterback. Like, yes, you might get 15 yards on a weak call, but that doesn't mean you're going to get a touchdown out of it. Like, you're sending Anthony Davis to the line 12 times in a quarter or whatever. Like, he's a 70% free throw shooter. Like, he's gonna, that's 10 free points, 9 free points for this team in a game that comes down to the wire. Like, it's so much more, has such more of an impact on the game when these calls kind of happen like this in a game. And it's like, it is crazy to see like how much it hasn't really gotten better since they've put an emphasis on like flopping or anything. Like, I feel like they've tried to do all these different things. Yeah, I think it's gotten worse, because I think, like you said, the players are now in everybody's ear, and that's gotten more than selling the call with your body. You sell the call by yelling it or getting into somebody's face, and they're like, all right, well, we're not going to take this abuse all night. Like, we'll either give you a call or won't give you a call. And then that's how the way it goes the rest of the night. It's a shame to see, but it is how, like, you have to consider it every time you tune into a game, especially a big time, like a national TV game or anything else, or a game with the Lakers involved, usually like there's going to be some kind of bias that you see from the refs, and you know it right away, and you're like, okay, well, this is what I have to deal with for the rest of the night. Like, I have to watch this game with this in the back of my head that the refs are going to call this a certain way. And it's annoying.
But that's my thing. It's like, I know they're going to call that way. And I know Bloomy said there's star bias. And I completely agree there's star bias. There's star bias across every league. But my biggest thing is that I'm tired of the refs being unsure and then being like, oh, it's a star, I'll call it, right? That's where my issue is. If there's star bias and you're like, all right, like, you kind of know going into the game that LeBron's going to get a little more calls than someone else if it looks like it's a contact layup, sure. I understand that. I get it. It happens in every league. However, I don't want to be watching a game, seeing LeBron go up the first time, little bit of contact, no call. He starts yelling at the ref, and then the next time down the court, same exact amount of contact happens, and a whistle's blown. Right? Mm-hmm. Like, you got to be consistent, because if you're not consistent, then players are just going to take advantage of this, and that's just going to piss more people off, because, like, why didn't you call this, but you call this now? And that's what I saw at the end of the Raptors-Lakers game last night, and I hate keep bringing that up, but I watched that game, and like I said, it benefited me because I got the points for Anthony Davis, but it was crazy how many times, and it just took one or two times for LeBron and Anthony Davis to complain in the third quarter, I think it was, and then in the fourth quarter, how many times Anthony Davis would go up or LeBron would go up, and you would not hear the whistle until you'd see the ball that's not going in. And it's like, dude, it's like you either call it right away, or you don't call it at all.
That's kind of what I was gonna say. Like, even forget the outcome of the game, forget that the discrepancy was so big, the 2 to 23 free throws. It's like one team shooting 23 free throws in a quarter is just bad for the product in general.
Agreed.
Like, you don't that slows down the pace, especially a fourth quarter of a game that was seemingly close. Like, it was a competitive game. There wouldn't be this much outrage from the Raptors coach if it wasn't a competitive game. Just at the very least, you're just taking away from the pureness of the actual game of basketball. And just even that can suck sometimes when they just keep sending one team or one player to the line. It's like this game has no flow. Now the other team's upset. You're handing out technicals. It can just spiral, and I think we've seen that a couple times this year. Definitely last night. I thought LeBron's comments were actually kind of funny. I thought it was how after the game they asked him about it, and he was like, "I thought they were fouling us, and we weren't." Like, it's just funny that like 2 days before that he was quote tweeting the Jaylen Brown non-foul, and he was like, "This is BS, man." Like, this. Went on a whole thing about how that was bullshit, and then he's on the good end. Which, like, what are you supposed to say if you're LeBron? And
exactly,
like, I don't blame him at all. I just thought it was hilarious.
And I think the style the Lakers played compared to the Raptors too. The Lakers were going to get more free throws at the end of that game than the Raptors. But my thing is, like, if you got to be consistent with it, because if you keep calling it like that on little stuff, not only does it like benefit the Lakers with the free throws, it benefits them the next trip down the court, because the Raptors got to play defense completely differently. Scotty Barnes, one of the best defenders in the NBA, fouled out at the end of the game. Emmanuel quickly fouled out. Like, you're having their star players in foul trouble. That benefits a team. We see this all the time in the first half, right? There will be a couple quick fouls, and next thing you know, a guy who's a key part of the team's rotations on the bench for the majority of the first half, because he's got 2 fouls or 3 fouls when maybe really only one of them should have been called. That changes the game too, not just the free throws, not just the guys, getting, into the bonus or whatever it is, but the players on the other end of the court getting in foul trouble when it really wasn't a foul. That, like, to me, that changes. When I watch a basketball game, I want to watch the best of the best go at it, right? I don't want to see a team benefit because one of the star players got 3 fouls because he happens to guard Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards, goes up and complains after the first time, and the next 2 trips down the court, same thing, and now you're calling a foul. That, like, and it's just one example of a lot of players where that could be the case, right? But that's my big issue. It's like, every time, like, it looks like you're going up against a superstar. It's like when they don't get the call the first time, they're going to bark until they start getting the call. And it drives me nuts because I feel like it's either the refs trying to overcorrect themselves. I know there's going to be star bias, but it's like you got to be consistent. You just tell them, I'm not calling that. You're going to need more contact if I'm calling that.
Yeah.
Or you call that from the start and you call it for everyone. I agree. NBA refs.
Oh, yeah.
They're mental midgets, JBC. They're mental midgets. That's what we're
Definitely.
talking about here. They don't have a mind of their own. And that's the problem. And that's why I said, Dunny, it's partly the player's fault, right? Because if we didn't have these superstars, faces of the league, constantly complaining, and I'm looking at the two of you right now, it's three of our favorite players are the main culprits of this. I'm not gonna say they're not. I'm not gonna say they're innocent. Like we know exactly what we're talking about here, but we gotta somehow stop that to a point because I'm tired of watching it. And it's like it's just not good for the league.
During this whole conversation, I'm just picturing Tatum's scowl that he always has on his face after he goes to the hoop, or if he falls down on a 3-point attempt.
I'm picturing Luka letting the Mavs play 4-on-5 because he's still talking to the ref on the other half of the court.
Yeah.
That is.
We know LeBron, Jake. We don't even need an example from him.
LeBron will sit there and just yell and just does not play defense at all. He's like, I'm just gonna wait for the offense. I'll take these 24 and just hang out.
The all-time best LeBron one is what we got last year. Celtics Lakers at the Garden. That was when Pat Bev brought out the camera.
That was, and he's pointing to the camera.
That was
all-time moment.
And Bron is on his knees, like this is like the worst thing that's ever happened to him in a basketball court. Oh my god!
Absolutely all-time moment by Pat Bev, though. I'll never forget that. That was. You can't. That and when we reacted to that live, my buddies were like, "This only happens in the NBA. This is the only thing, only league this is allowed." It's like it's the greatest thing.
Yeah, I mean, no one's saying that the NBA ref's job is easy. I think at the very least we can come away with this just asking for more consistency. I think that fixes a lot of this. Obviously, not all of it. But yeah, I mean, what a week to be an NBA referee. And we're not even halfway through the season yet, guys.
I know. Yeah.
So hopefully
we're not even in postseason games.
Yeah. I'm sure, of course there's going to be more drama. That much is for sure.
We love the drama.
Yeah, and in a weird way, we're looking forward to the drama for the rest of the season. You guys have anything else at the end here? Can't think of any other.
The only thing I got is my win streaks picks.
Oh, let's hear them, Jake. Let's hear them.
The night. I've got the Oklahoma City Thunder, nice 35 points. And could be the South Beach, South Beach flu, whatever else. I'm going with the Thunder. I think they lock it in today. I like the Bulls tonight, 37. I'm going with safer picks tonight. I'm going a little safer. I'm not trying to get the underdog. The underdog's been messing me up a little bit. So I'm going to stay away from that. And then in some college basketball, just take Kansas. Kansas at UCF. I think Kansas gets it done.
I like that.
Points. Yeah. I like that. That can get you about 100 points today. It's like a 36, a 37, and a 23. So it's close to 100. That's what I want. I just want 100 points. That's my new strategy. If I can get to 100 points a day, I feel like you're in a good spot with the win streaks app. And then once you get to the end of the week, if you're looking at a good total, then you start taking some chances. Look at those weekend games. And you're like, oh, maybe I like this underdog here in this spot. And then take a couple swings, That's what I'm going with. I'm going safe tonight.
I like it. Donnie, what you got? We need a score prediction. I don't even care about a win streaks prediction. Score prediction. Celtics T-Wolves. Because I know what you're taking at win streaks. Come on now. I already know what you're taking at win streaks. I don't need that. I
have one that would surprise you, but I will give you a score prediction. I think the Celtics win this game against the Timberwolves 117 to 106. I think
there we go.
They keep the home streak going. No Gobert tonight for the Timberwolves. No KP for the Celtics. So a big for a big down there. I think the Jays will attack the rim. Tatum had 32 and Brown had 26 in the first meeting, I think. And Edwards stole the ball from Tatum on the last possession in overtime and kind of talked his shit afterwards, which is perfectly fair. He had every right to do so. But if I know Jason Tatum, he likes bounce back games. He didn't play last game for the Celtics, so he's got fresh legs. I think I gave out my prop pick of the night earlier today, though. It's Jason Tatum on the points. I believe it was 25.5 earlier today. I think it's probably 26.5 now, maybe even higher. But yeah, I like to see he's taking it. I do have them on win streaks. I also have UMass basketball on win streaks, starting out hot in the A10. And who am I? I think I was on the Thunder as well, Jake. I'm on the Colorado Avalanche in hockey.
There we go.
And I'm on the Atlanta Hawks over the Philadelphia 76ers.
The
I like that
list
one,
76ers. I don't hate that. I'm similar with you guys with OKC. I got OKC. I'm actually JBC. Cover your ears. I'm taking the Rockets over the Bulls. I'm taking the Rockets over the Bulls. And then college basketball. You guys don't. College basketball season starting up. We're in conference play now. I think these conference play games really matter, especially to the
historic night last night.
Especially in the home team when you got a pretty good team coming into town. Xavier home against UConn. Xavier's home dog. I love the home dogs, especially when a big team comes into town. Give me Xavier. I think 66 points on that too. Ooh, I love when it's over 50 on win streaks. Sometimes it doesn't work out for me, but I'll still take it anyways.
Steve, JVC is not happy with you.
I know JVC's not happy with me. I know he's not, but you know what? I'm sorry. I got the better team with more points, JVC. What do you want me to do?
That's a good point.
What do you want me to do, JVC? I can't say no. And you know what? I hope the Bulls win. I hope they win, JVC. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrrong.
We had a historic college basketball night last night. Number 1 and number 2 going down since I think it was first time since 2016 it happened. Yep. Only first a couple times it's happened in history. It was a great game.
What an environment for Iowa State. The Cyclones, Houston coming in. Now Houston a part of a Big 12. I think people forget that. Like Houston's playing a Mickey Mouse schedule. It's not anymore. Not anymore. They're going to have to prove themselves in conference play now. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then Nebraska.
I was more expecting
Purdue too.
I think Iowa State was only a 1.5 underdogs last night, so it wasn't like it was a close spread and everything. Nebraska was a shock. Shock.
Big one. Yeah. Big one for Nebraska. And that's the thing. That's why I love this part of college basketball. Once you get into conference play, it's really like you see the crowds get into it for these big home games when a ranked team's coming to town. And I love that. It makes it chaotic, the bubble picture, everything. Oh, we got so much basketball options now, boys.
I was going to say, it's really beautiful, guys. College football is over. College basketball, full gear. NBA, obviously full gear right now.
Basketball season. It's basketball season.
It's the best time of year. We gave you guys our picks on win streaks tonight. Remember to download the app. Use our referral code HHH when you sign up. Start winning cash prizes. 5 picks per day. 100% free to play. We already know you're watching these games. Pick who you want to win. Accumulate points and then win cash prizes. The contest runs every week, Monday to Sunday. Again, use our code HHH in the referral code spot, and you will be entered to win a $50 Game Time gift card. We're going to announce it on the show next week, January 17th. Be there or be square. Go download win streaks. Use our code HHH and enjoy the basketball, guys.
Have a night,
later, guys.